Danielle. Hey, congratulations on your new film, Dark Obsession.
Thank you.
It is so thrilling. For the past year, I want to say I saw you in Dark Obsession. I saw you in Roadkill. Saw you in Natty Knots. Gosh, you are really keeping busy. I have to admit.
I feel like I did so much for like 2 years and then nothing came out. So now finally everything is starting to rear its head, which is pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. So tell us what initially drew you to Dark Obsession.
The script, the story, the simplicity of it, the nature of the tone. New filmmakers, I like to support them as well, especially female lead writing, producing, starring in. All of that is incredibly difficult to do. So I just wanted a year. I think once COVID hit, I started to sort of take a step back and think about taking projects based solely on story, not on how big the character or how much work I had to do in it, as long as the character had an impact on the story. And this was one of those projects.
I know I do have to admit, whether the role is big or small, you love these type of character-driven stories.
I do. I mean, that's why I'm an actor, you know.
So how would you describe the character in your character in Dark Obsession? I mean, do you feel it's like a pivotal type of character?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where women don't talk about a lot of things of this nature. And but yet if we look in one another's eyes, there's sort of an unspoken language between women. If we just talk about it a little bit more, life would be a lot easier on us. So that was where I was going with Charlotte, was that I know you, I've seen this in your eyes before, because at this point in the story, they don't know each other. Charlotte has an abusive husband the same way that, Anne does, but they've never met each other. So you can look at another woman and kind of know their story if it's in their eyes. And that's the way I felt Charlotte and Anne's connection was.
I know the story is actually fascinating because it's not just, some kind of medical metaphysical supernatural type of story. It's
Yeah.
really about trauma.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And it's, I mean, how difficult is it for Blaine to carry an entire movie? 90% of the time she's by herself. That's really difficult to do. So I thought that was really interesting to watch. And the fact that it doesn't have to have, blood and gore and, crazy things happening in order for it to be intriguing. So I liked that about the story.
Now, tell us why you love, supporting these indie filmmakers in their own way.
Well, I think we all have to start from somewhere. And I find a lot of times, I do conventions and appearances and conversations, and a lot of new directors, producers, screenwriters will say, I would love for you when I finally get to make my movie, oh my God, it'd be a dream to work with you. I would love to, but I know I could never get you. And I always say things like, never say never. You just don't know. There are reasons why I take certain projects. So it doesn't have to be about the budget, doesn't have to be about the money, doesn't have to be about if it's a big name director, producer, studio. It really is just about the work. So I'm happy to be part of that process and be there from the beginning.
You make it sound like you're so very easily approachable, but in reality, you do pick and choose these projects.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I trust me. I have a lot of stuff that comes my way that I'm like, oh, not quite what I want to work on right now. But good luck, and just keep working at it. And then there are other ones that are newer filmmakers and it's also interesting, being on a set like this, seeing the DP and seeing how George worked with everybody and how Blaine was, and just the creativity of a new generation of filmmakers is interesting, because while I may look young, I've been around for a long time. So I have seen, the beginning of it when we were shooting on film and, big studio films, and then kind of have seen the whole gamut of what it takes to be a filmmaker now. And I'm glad that people are just doing it. They're making it happen. They're not waiting for something to come their way.
I want to recall that this movie was based in Florida, but was it filmed during COVID in Florida?
It was filmed during COVID. My part was in Los Angeles.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess you didn't have to fly out to Florida.
No, I mean, that was also something that was, I mean, I have two young children. I'm immunocompromised. I hadn't had the vaccination hadn't been available yet. So there was a lot of stuff that had come my way that I was just too scared to take on as well. So there were parts that were would expose me more. And so stuff like this was like, great, okay, not making out with anybody. I'm not, spending too much time with anybody. There's still distance. There's precautions in place, and I wanted to work and continue doing stuff because we were stuck in our house for 2 years. So this was like, nope, you're shooting in LA, super easy. Everyone's tested. You're abiding by the rules. So it just sort of seemed like, okay, great. I get to get out of my house and do something creative.
Did you do a lot of projects during the COVID period?
I did not too many. I think maybe 5 or 6 film. I mean, I guess kind of a lot, 5 or 6 films. It was really difficult to work during COVID. It was very scary and weird, and nobody knew what was going on and how to do things and how to maneuver. A team, B team, C team, and everything. Lines get crossed, and there's just a lot of. It was very difficult. I'm glad that's done for now.
Yeah, mentally you got through it with it, and I want to say you're one of the lucky ones who got a lot of work during that time.
Yes, thank goodness. I also wanted to do stuff. As long as I mean, I feel like I had tons of friends that were working on productions that were getting shut down left and right. Big stuff that was they'd start to work and they're like, oh, we're shut down again for a week. We're shut down for a week. So these smaller indie films where there's only a half a dozen crew members to a dozen crew members and everyone has their distance and it's just very small and intimate seemed a lot easier for me to navigate.
Now, with a lot of the films that I mentioned earlier in this interview, I want to say that they're like heart-thumping films, thrillers, horrors, and everything. Do you feel like you're getting boxed into it, or it's just what's been landing on your plate lately?
I mean, I love working in the horror community. I don't have to audition, which is fan freaking tastic. I can pick and choose what I want to do. It's my community, it's my fan base. They'll support everything that I do and see everything that I do. And I feel like if I wasn't in this little world, then it would be much more difficult for me to, get on screen to be able to sink my teeth into something. So I'm super happy. I'm 46. I've been doing this 40 years. Like I'm so good where I am right now. I get to have these roles, a lot of the times big roles that I wouldn't necessarily be able to get. I wouldn't get cast in if I wasn't a big celebrity, if I wasn't a star name. But in our little community, I kind of am. So I get to feel that and still come home to my kids and see new filmmakers and support what they're doing.
So when you go to like these events, these conventions or carpets and all this kind of stuff, and fans approach you, so you love this. It still makes you feel like a big star.
Yeah, I mean, why not? People coming up crying. It's like it's weird. It's still weird for me that I've made an impact. But if I look around, I mean, I owe my career to these people that are coming to these conventions that are saying things like, "I've grown up with you. I've watched everything you've done. My first movie I ever saw was Halloween 4, and I've watched everything you've done after that, and I'm your age." And that's pretty cool. I mean, I know, I have that with people too. That you're like, "Oh my God, I've grown up with you." So I think that's why we do what we do.
We know you have a family, you have a convention circuit to actually visit. Do you miss the big budget type of movies where you're gone for like days and on end?
Um, I miss the creature comforts of big studio movies. When you're doing a big, I did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I haven't seen a set like that in a very, very long time. So it's great to have craft service and food and somewhere to go to the bathroom. So there's things like that you tend to miss. But that's what filmmaking is. I mean, I still love the nitty gritty of it. There's definitely times when the roles are incredibly difficult that you want to be able to escape and go somewhere and, have kind of your space. And sometimes that's not available on small movies. So I definitely miss that, but I don't miss being gone. I mean, I would take meetings after meetings with studios when I wanted to get back into television. And I kept saying, I don't want to be number one on the call sheet. I want to be like number five because I don't want to work all day, every day. I don't want this to be my entire life. I want to have a family. I want to be normal. I want to have kids. Like I don't want, my whole focus is not to be a movie star or famous. So I just want to be part of the craft because I enjoy what I do. And as long as I'm able to pay my bills doing it, I'm super happy. I don't need anything more than that.
If you had to revisit a franchise, like a horror franchise that you are both known for, the Hatchet series or the Halloween series, which would you rather?
Oh, you're making me pick between my children right now. It really just depends. I mean, obviously I love Mary Beth. I don't know if that will ever happen. I mean, we've been waiting for a while to kind of see where she is now. She's a really fun character and I love playing her, but my heart is 100% always with Jamie Lloyd. I mean, I know Annie Brackett's finished and done, and that wasn't my, no, that wasn't my creation anyway, but Jamie is. So it'd be interesting to see where she would be nowadays. If I could have the opportunity to come back to a franchise, of course it would have to be Halloween.
So in the end, you do miss getting down and dirty,
Oh yeah. I'm all about getting down and dirty. It's just a matter of am I in a place in my life where I'm okay going through all of that emotionally. There's a script that came my way this last weekend that I've signed on to do. It's not financed yet, and I don't ever do that until it's financed because you just don't know. And I loved it so much. They'd offered me a 3-day role, and the director had said, in a perfect world, you would play the lead. And I read the script and said, I want to play the lead. I don't, it doesn't matter as long as this is workable. I don't want to just do 3 days. This is something that I could sink my teeth into. And I said to him, I swear I would never do that again after I did a movie called Shiver a long time ago with John Jarrett. And it was incredibly challenging. And I took that movie because I wanted to disappear for 4 weeks and just live in hell and you know uh work all my actor muscles. But after that, you're like, okay, cool. I don't think I really need to do movies where I'm tortured and raped and beaten and abused. And, it's very taxing on me and my health. So now that I'm older, it's like, God, how much do I want to put myself through that fight or flight? And it has to be worth it. So I think I'm now in a place where, okay, it's been about 15 years since I've really had to do all of that. And I'm ready to get back in and make that stuff happen.
I know I was going to say your fans would be thrilled to hear, you in the lead role again.
Yeah, it's time. I mean, it's time. I mean, I felt like, Dwight Little is obviously Natty Knox director and writer in Halloween 4, and we have a long history together. And he said, the only negative comments I got about Natty Knox was that you weren't in it more. And I felt like I was in a lot of the movie and had a lot of stuff to do and some really good scenes, meaty stuff. So, maybe for the sequel, if they do another one, Diane will get a chance to come back and have more stuff to do.
Most excellent. So Danielle, tell us what is some of your upcoming projects that you can talk about?
Gosh, the next one I think that I'm most excited about is a film called The Stream, and that's done by the Terrifier gang, which is great. And we're going to be premiering. Ideally, I believe the goal is to have our movie come out before Terrifier 3, and it's got everyone. Look it up. It's got literally every one of my friends and everyone that I've always wanted to work with in it. And there's some really amazing effects and story stuff by Damien Leone, which is, obviously he's like the king of effects right now with his gore. So this is definitely one of those roles. And I'm playing the mom more. I'm finally playing who I really am, which is a little bit weird to see. And then of course we've got our podcast, Talk Scary to Me, that Scout Compton and I do, that we're working with Bloody FM and Bloody Disgusting on. So there's lots of fun things happening with that, touring around and just working on, I was spent all weekend working on a book actually. So I have a writer that came in town from back East, and I'm finally at a place where I feel like my story is ready to be told.
Most excellent. Well, Danielle, thank you very much for speaking to us, and keep on working and stay young.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.